Hi, this is Nancy with Scrapmana, and I am showing you how to color with alcohol markers. This is for the kit that you picked up at the store, and it is flowers and succulents is what I'm using. So we're gonna do a little bit of Copic, a little bit of OLO. And what I would do is I thought that I would maybe pick for the image and do 2 with Copic and 2 with OLO. I don't think I need to do them all. I think that you'll be able to figure that out once you go through this. But I really liked the Simon Hurley, like the succulent set. And I listed on that you have your instructions also. And I listed on your instructions all the stamp sets that I used for this. I used stamps and dies. I used a couple of sentiment stamps. I used some piercing plates, some embossing folders. So I listed all those there. And again, as you're going through this, if you have any questions at all, give me either an email, you can text me, call me, and I will try to do everything that I can to help you through this process. So in your kit, you will have a package. Your bags may look a teeny bit different than mine, but you're gonna have 8 card bags, and they're all marked and they correspond with your instructions sheet, okay? So card 1, it's card 1. I also told you that you have a bag like this, a bag that's got all your sentiments in it, all of your images to color, okay? And it's got 4 of these ovals in here. These are ovals that are really a heavy vellum, okay? And I'll show you what to do with those. So, those, you can match them up. I did not match them up, but I believe you could match them up with the samples that I've given you. It's pretty simple to lay them out and match them up and put them in each card, okay? And again, feel free, as I said, you can change these up. You can color the way you want. You can do what you want with this kit. It doesn't offend me any. I use a fair amount of foam tape. If you choose not to use foam tape, that's fine, okay? So what I wanted to do was pay no attention to this. I probably should cover that up. That's just something. I always color on something like a board just to absorb my inks, okay? So I will show you that each one of the cards, these are the finished cards, and you can see I've used some foam adhesive on these. So this particular layer has a thin layer of black foam tape under it, and then I pop my sentiments. And I'll show you when I get done what I did on this image here. I just used a little bit of foam underneath these, and it's hidden underneath the flowers so you don't see it on this. I felt that when I put these and kind of laid them out, the pots were floating, okay? And because I gave you decorative backgrounds, I really didn't want to I don't want you drawing necessarily on that. So I thought the vellum added a nice touch. So we took those ovals and we colored on the back of them. Then we just cut them in half and we used that as a ground. If you don't like that, again, you can do what you want with it. If you have a better idea, you're welcome to do that. I did not say to use glossy accents, but on some of these, on the edge of the pot, you might see the little glisten there. On the glass ones, I've got it, if I can get it to glisten in the camera there, there's a little bit of glistening there. You can put Wink Stella on your flowers. There's a little bit of glistening on this. So feel free. This particular one just had a little bit on the stripes on the pot. You can do what you want with these. So add anything you feel. I looked at putting gems on them, and then I started deciding, okay, is that going to be too much? So I didn't put any gems on them, okay? Again, this is your card kit. You should have eight pieces. One thing I did forget to say, and I feel that, and I didn't write it on this, and I usually do, and I'd already printed all of my instructions. It's just kind of a given that I have, you'll open up the envelope, and then again, you'll have to put your images and your sentiments in there, okay? But I have my sentiment, but I have the colored image, and I'll get the other one. I colored both of these in Copic, and I colored them in OLO. And I was telling Stacy I was really trying to keep them straight, and it got to the point that I couldn't even tell the difference in them. Now again, I've colored a lot. I know that this one happens to be the Copic one because I went for a little bit lighter, I think. So anyway, we'll work on this one, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. But you'll have to find your sentiment and find your flowers. So again, what you may want to do is you may just want to color all of them and put them back, and then decide on your sentiments at that point. But you'll have a backer piece. You'll have on this particular card number 1. I need to find card number 1 in my stack for you. So this is card number 1. Then you will layer the yellow and layer this white layer. Yours is more of a bead board. This happens to be a little bit more of a striation, just on my sample to do that. That's how you'll do it, and you'll layer them all together, okay? I forgot to mention that you will need to score all of your card bases at 5.5 because they're top folding. And if you don't like top folding, you can supply your own bases and do them side fold. But they need to be scored at 5.5. It's an A2 card. So every one of the bases will be top folding A2 cards scored at 5.5, okay? So we'll put this over here. These are my pieces, okay? For the card, that was the other image that I did. And I might be able to tell you exactly which one by my colors. The Copic one, RV, okay. This is the Copic image. This is the OLO image. I know that this is RV00 and RV02 on these little flowers, and these are a little purpler. So I do know for a fact that on my sample that went to the store, but there's very little difference. And again, you may color these flowers any way you want. I just tried to match the blue with the blue background and the blue and the yellow. My jar, this is a B, this is B quad 0 and B 000 from Copic, and then this would be the B's from OLO. So I can tell the difference in them a little bit that way, but the colors match pretty well, okay? So, and I have given you all the colors. Now, I hope I haven't missed anything. Excuse me if I have. If you just can't figure it out, let me know. And again, if you have anything at all that's a different marker than this, use what you want, because I'm really only familiar with Copic and OLO. I'm not familiar with some of the other brands that are out there, like the Sketch and the Spectrum Noirs and things like that. So, take them and go with what you feel is good for you, okay? So I'm gonna pull all my little samples out here. I have cut all of these for you, okay? And if it's difficult for you I need to get up from my desk, probably. I don't see one here. Oh, I do have a full sticky pad. I have some full sticky notes. You could use masking paper, anything like that. This particular one didn't get cut all the way, so I'm gonna use that as my sample tonight. And I'm going to stick it on this piece of Post-it paper just so that I have something to kind of hold onto. And I'm not, trying to color the image. It's just helpful for me. But that's the best thing the best I can give you, okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to color this first image with OLO markers, okay? So I'm going to pull my OLOs out of my rack. I didn't pull anything because I wanted to try to keep them as much into their homes as I possibly could, because that way it's easier for me to find them. So it's B03, B2.2, G1, V1.1, V2.3, YO, which is yellow orange, was what I used a little bit of that for the wings of the butterfly. And it's 2.2. And it's YO 2.3. And then I used a WG7. You could use anything that you want. That's just a little bit of the butterfly base that I did, okay? So that's where they were. And typically when I color, I just throw them in a tin like this. That way I can write them down. I put them on a sticky note on the back of what the image I've done. That way it's kind of always there, okay? So on something like this, I usually always do the glass first. And you know what? I did not put a green image there for the leaves on that one. That was really smart of me. I didn't do it on either one. So I may go back and add those on your sheets because I'm recording this before everything's there. So I will add the green color to there. I can pencil that in for you on the edge of those all. So glad that I do have the Geo one. Boy, I'm losing it. It is later at night too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lightest marker, and what I'm going to do is, I've done some glass before, but I'm going to start from the side and I'm just going to flick in, and I'm basically putting my marker down on the side, and I'm using the OLOs. OLOs are very juicy. It's a free flowing ink, okay? So this whole tube is full of juice, is what I should say, of ink. And I'm laying this down. I'm actually going to color in the entire part of the base, okay? And I'm not worried about going too much over the leaves, only because I know that I'm going to color them a little darker, okay? I will color this multiple times and they're never going to look the same. Okay, so now I'm taking the darker color, which is the 2.2, and I'm going and doing the same type of thing again, and I am not going quite as far. And if you guys hear a noise, it's my dog. If you guys watch me do lives, you know that my dog is here, and she just went out, but she seems very frustrated. We had an ice storm here today, so okay. So I'm kind of doing that. Now, if you also believe that you've gotten it too, if you think that you've gotten it too dark, you can always kind of come back and take some of that out. But now I'm coming back over with my 0.3, which is the lightest one, and just kind of coming back over that again. Because I'm leaving white space in the center on purpose, okay? Now, I am going to take my 0 marker, and I can come in here and I can try to, and you can see, I haven't really done this, but you're seeing a little bit of my pink, and I'm just kind of going over the center of that. And I softened some of those edges, and things are going to, they're going to mesh out a little bit, but you can see that I've softened those edges. I think most all zeros or colorless blenders have a look of purple to them. You could use any probably colorless blender as long as it's an alcohol marker in there. And there's another thing that I don't always, I come back in here with my marker, and I kind of emphasize a little bit of that. I should be able to possibly, let's see if I can bring this in just a little bit for you. That's better. Okay, there you go. So I let a little bit of emphasis there. Okay, so you should be able to use any alcohol marker with them. What I was going to say is, with my Copics, this is important to always recap them. With the Olos, because it's a free-flowing ink, you really don't have to worry about recapping them as you're moving them, using them. You can leave the lids off. You just need to be careful that when you recap the markers, that you're putting the cap, like I have a double-ended marker, okay? So my markers are double-ended. I have the same marker on both ends until I can replace the bullet point. But you just make sure that if you take the caps off, that you don't twist them around, because you'll have them all messed up. So that's the B. So I'm pretty much done with my B's. Now I can go in, and this is dry from my colorless blender. I'm going to use my G01, which is a light green, and I'm just going to go in with the tip of my marker, and I am coloring these leaves. It's, you could make them as dark as you want them, but I'm just using the very, very tip of my marker, because that's going to get me the fine point. And that's what I'm really anxious to see, what the bullet point looks like. I don't know if I can exactly, let me see here if I can pick a marker. Yes. This is my Copic marker. This is my YG21, which I use a lot. I have replaced the chisel on, let it focus, on quite a few of mine with this bullet nib. So I'm anticipating the bullet nib's going to look very close to like this. So I will do that with all my Olos, and I will eventually probably start doing it with a lot of my Copics, because very seldom do I use my Copics for anything else. And if you want these a little darker, you can come back in and do them again. You can choose a little bit darker marker if you want, but also understand that if you're trying to make this look like glass and they're in water, these are probably going to be a little bit lighter in the glass than they would. So we've gone up to there, okay? So there's that part. Now, I have got the flowers, and what I'm going to do is, this is my V. Let me lay this right here for you. That way you can see that. The V11 marker. These are so simple. I'm just going in here, and these are a little more violet than the one that was on my sample, but these are the Olos, not the Copic. So I just chose a little bit of a violet. Again, this card, the pieces I gave you only have a blue, yellow, and a white. You could choose anything you want. You could change the background if you don't like these colors. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my V23, and all I'm going to do is just go over, and again, I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm just going over those little black spots to add some emphasis there. And look, I forgot the flower on that side. I got so excited. Okay, V11 over here. And I'm going to come back in and just color those edges, okay? Recap my markers. I'm going to stick them back in my little barrel here. Actually, I could just stick them back in their little hole, because that way I know where they are. I have a little stand-up caddy here for mine. You can store these any way you want. They can stand up. They could be this way. I just happen to have an extra caddy from my stuff that I had done with some Copics and things. So different casing. So they're sitting right here on my desk. So I now have the Y 2.2. What I did with this was I colored this butterfly's kind of an odd. There's just a tiny little bit there. I probably wasn't on screen for that. I colored that. And then this is the 2.3. I did this little area, which is just a little darker. He could be orange. He could be any color you want him to be. This is such a fast little color. okay? And then the last thing I have on this image is the little part of the butterfly here, and it could be any color you want. I just chose like a WG, W7, something warm, and I just colored it in so it was a dark butterfly. So he would be cute if you wanted to put some Wink of Stella on him, and kind of dress him up a little bit. I do not believe I have a Wink of Stella pen right here by me, but I probably do right here. So you could just take a Wink of Stella and put a little bit of Wink of Stella on your butterfly, and he would just have a little bit of shimmer, okay? So that's just kind of an extra added thing. Image is completed, okay? Fast color. I'm done with that. I could assemble my card, okay? I don't think you need to sit here and watch me assemble the cards, except for I will do this and show you kind of what I did to get this to work. Let me see if my glue is coming out. I haven't used this one in a while. Let me see if I have another one. Here's one over here. Okay, I'm not having much luck with my adhesives coming out. I don't know why. So, I will. Let me try again to get this guy out of here. Get my Nouveau glue started. These bottles are difficult for me to... The Nouveau bottles are harder for me to squeeze. I'm gonna... Because I don't know what it is on my hands. It's just a hard squeeze for me. So I found that that's what I like about... I'm trying to get my glue adhesive bottle open here. There it is. Okay. So what I did was I stuck a tiny bit of liquid adhesive just on the base of each one of my images, okay? Then I took one of my halves. I color on the back side, so if you get a little bit of striation, you really don't see it. I laid it on in the center like that, just to kind of ground it a little bit, and I let it dry, okay? And then I had some small foam dots, and I put a foam dot here. I moved it when I was doing that. I just try to make sure that it's sitting up straight on that. Okay, yeah, that looks good. And I put a foam dot here and a couple at the top, and then I attached it to my card. And so therefore you really, sorry, there. You don't see anything, and then that's there. So it kind of floats, but this is sturdy enough. And then if you want to do any type of glass accent with like glossy accents, you can, and add your sentiment, okay? So there's that card there, okay? Now let's look at what I have here. I'm looking at my instructions, okay? Let's go to, let me go back out again a little bit. Okay, so let's go to card 4, okay, of our pack. I'm gonna stick everything back in my sack on card 1. That way I don't lose my pieces, okay, while we're doing this. Okay. And let's go to card number 4. And card number 4, again, you will need to find your cactus piece. And I don't see, there's my, I left some things in there. Okay. And in that particular piece, once again, you're going to score your card base, top fold at 5.5 and fold it down, okay? So that's your card base. You will have this part that goes on your card, okay? And I did direct glues on the first layer. Then I popped, when I put these together, I popped them up. And this is basically going to do, this is a 4-inch wide by 5 1/4. This is 5 1/4 tall, so it's going to go all the way down. And then this piece that you have, I'm not sure if yours are a little longer. I'm using kind of some prototype stuff and leftover things that I have. You have a stitched like pierced piece. You may need to trim it off there. And so then you will put that on there. I pop dotted that up, and this is what the card looks like, okay? So this layer was popped up. And then I did a little bit, on these layers. So you'll just need to make sure that it's cut off there, okay? And this, again, I can't tell you which one of these is which. I mean, this one came out so close, I couldn't tell you exactly which one was which. I believe this one may be OLO. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've probably done them backwards, but I think this could be OLO because I think the colors were a tad bit lighter, and I came back in with my YG91 and tip dyed this back, okay? So let's go ahead and I'll set this over. Here is my image. I don't need these pieces right this second, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at my instructions, and I am going to pull what I did for the Copics. I'm going to use Copics this time. So I have an E97, E08, E19, and I can pull these so much faster because they're in my case right here, and they're in numerical order, where I don't really have them in numerical order. They're divided in 5 colorways, my OLOs are, but I'm learning those. Y26, YG91, YG95, okay? So those are the colors that I used. I'm going to stick my little image on my, let's do it this way, my little sticky note. And what I'll do is we will kind of come out a little bit there so you can watch me, okay? And I was putting these in a numerical order for you, but I don't think it's going to make too much difference. So I did start with the lightest color, and then I went to the darkest, okay? And also, if you guys have your Copics, if you don't remember, this little gray line here is where your sketch is, okay? My markers are really, really dirty. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna totally color in this because this is inside the pot, so it's probably going to have, some shadow in there, okay? So what I will do is I'm just going to come through, and I'm still leaving something in an opening right there, okay? Something white. Now, as you get down here, this is going to wind up being a little bit darker. Follow the shape of the pot, okay? And come down as you are working with it all the way at the bottom, and I'll actually make this the darkest color at the bottom there. So I always leave a white space. That one was with the E97, okay? The next marker that I'm going to use is let's see what E08 does. And E08 is a little bit darker, you can see. And again, I'm not worried about the inside of this area because it's going to be darker in there. So I am going in a dark to light, light to dark, and then I'll go back out. So I'm not giving it quite as much ink as the other ones, the other side, the first marker, the E97. And I think it's important that you learn the markers, the style of the marker, because I know I do some things in dark to light, and then I do things light to dark. So different things, what the images I'm coloring and stuff like that. So, and sometimes I do it totally dark to light with Olos because of the free-flowing ink. So now I'm on the E19, and E19 is my darkest color, and I don't have to go all the way, but in here it really does kind of add, some depth there. So I'm coming in, and again, I'm not doing much at all, and I'm kind of using the tip of my marker, but don't really want it to get real streaky. So, I'm laying, my marker is probably at about a 45-degree angle to its paper. I find people tend to color up like this, and that's when you get some streaks. So you kind of want a little bit more of the side of the marker. And I'm going to go all the way here, okay? So now that was the E19. I'm coming back to my E08, and I'm coming and I'm doing a little bit more. And I've laid my marker down even a little bit more onto the side. I know there's my hand, how I'm gripping the marker. I find that this is the hardest thing for people to do, and I'm coming kind of back over this, trying to soften some of those lines, and I did lay that base coat, okay? Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna take my E97, and here's my E97, and I'm coming back, and I'm not going totally into the side, but I'm coming back over the markers there. And just kind of work in that area. Sometimes you can do it in circles. I don't want to go too far because I'll start removing the ink, okay? And I really don't mind that, it's not going to be totally, it's not going to be a white pot. I'm going to leave that, but I'm trying to let you see that it is a pot that's got some depth to it. And think about this as being a clay pot, okay? And if you start getting a little bit of a movement back into that area, I am not a tip-to-tip person. I am a palette blender, okay? So I'm going to take my E19 and I'm going to scribble a little bit. I just carry these inexpensive blocks. You've got these. You can have a tile. You can have a piece of laminated paper, anything like that, anything glass. I pick that. It's my darkest color. I pick it up with the end of my lightest color, and I'm just coming in here, and I'm kind of going to work that line just a little bit, okay? I'm actually going to take my mid-tone of my 08 and pick some of that up too, just because I've got a little bit more of an edge than what I want there. And I'm going to get an oversaturation if I don't watch, okay? So I'm going to come over here, and this is my lightest marker, and I'm coloring that through, okay? So it's fine that it has a little bit of texture, but people can see the roundness of that, okay? It looks a little different in person than it does on the camera, okay? So there's the pot. I'm going to recap my markers, okay? I'm going to recap them with the proper numbers, okay? I am going to take my block. I can do, probably will do this because it'll be a little easier. I just have a little bit of hand sanitizer that's on my desk that I carry, and I'll put that on there. I'll take my cloth and I'll just clean off. In fact, that was like 6 times the amount of hand sanitizer that I needed. And I'll take my block and I'll clean that off, and that way it's ready for me to use the next time, okay? You can use a spray bottle of alcohol, but since I'm sitting here, I decided I wouldn't do that. So there's that. Now, we have the cacti, okay? And you can notice that when I did this, I turned my paper, okay? I had my paper turned, and paper turns. That's what's great about it. I basically can do that. So what I have is let's finish off the pot. I did Y28, which is a really kind of golden color, and all I did was just color the edge of the pot there. It's kind of a golden color. And then when I put the glossy accents on it, it was just, you know, very neutral. So that's that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I have 3 markers left, and one is the Y28. Okay. And what I did was I started and I did a cactus, and I just put a little bit here at the bases of the cactus. I did 1 cactus at a time. Then what I did, because that was kind of golden, then I came back in with my YG95 and I came back over it. And again, I'm using that same method of not going up quite as far. And then I am going to take my YG91, okay? And I'm coming and I just kind of go back over this, each one of these. Okay. And I'm going to come back with my Y28, and I'm just coming up and adding a little bit more of that gold tone in here. And if you wanted these, I think they got a little bit golder in my Olos. You could go with a little golder pen. This is the Y26, which is a little more golden. So if you want your cactus to have a little bit more of a brown golder tone, you can do that. And then you can always come back with your YG91. So cactuses are different colors. Okay, now they are much darker on the camera than what they are in person. I will tell you that right now. They don't look like that in person. Okay? So each one of those, we just do each one of those like that. And just come back. I can pick up that little guy. This is my Y28. And this down in here is going to be pretty dark. Okay. So then I'm going to come in here and I am going to get my YG95. Just put a little bit here. This I'm going to leave at YG95. And this time I'm going to come back with my Y26 and come back over this a little bit. That's an added number that I didn't have in there before, but I think, you know, again, I color it each time. And then this is my YG91. And I just went back and I colored those. Okay. So I did add the Y26, which is just a golden color. Here's a piece of paper just to show you what it looks like. Okay, I don't know if my YO, I think my YO, this is an OLO marker, which is YO 2.5, which would work too. So that's probably the closest. I keep these little scraps when I cut things out so I can just test my colors, okay? So now what we're going to do is let's finish this one off a little bit. And we're just going to come in here and we are starting once again with our Y28. I'm going to finish off all the little cactus. I mean, they don't have to be perfect by any means. I'm trying to move these up here because I'm wind up sticking them on my sweatshirt here. Okay, now this, I'm kind of flicking things out. Okay, that was my Y26. Now I'm gonna go in with my dark green and just add a little bit of that Y95 to the bases, just to give them some depth down at the bottom here. Okay, and then to finish it off, I'm gonna come in with my YG91 and just color everything and just kind of scribbling over the top of it, okay? And these are wet, and so they will look a little different, and I think they're gonna show up a little different when you, on my camera than what they do. Now I'm just recapping my markers right quick and putting them back, as I should be more careful not to make such noise on my tin. Okay, so there's my image, okay? So again, striations, again, I don't think that it's a problem. I like the fact, cactus don't look perfect, okay, by any means. So that's the cactus. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back out again. And this is the card. So once again, you will do your bottom part on the bottom, just turn it over, put a little bit of adhesive on the bottom and glue that and put it together, okay? I think the picture is gonna help you, quite a bit with that, okay? So what we're gonna do is I'm going to stick these guys back into my card as I kind of drop them on the floor here. I didn't mean to do that. Let me pick them up right quick. I hope you enjoy this process. If you do, let Stacy know. I mean, I really would like to get back into coloring at the store, but again, the attendance was down. A lot of people like to have the opportunity to do it, and they can't do it in the classroom at our store. So, this is kind of a chosen way. And I don't know if I would love to be able to do a virtual of some type, and if you think that would work to learn to color or different things, I don't know if I can do a live where you can interact or anything like that. I know interaction with Zooms is probably the best, and we really don't do much on Zoom, but I'm always trying to find a better way to help you. So, that said, let's see. Now, let's do card number 7. And we will do it with Copics. So here it is. I'm not sure, yours are not, this particular one, again, card base, top fold, score at 5.5, okay? So you'll score that at 5.5. Put that back in my thing. And then you are going to have these pieces here. You have a piece that actually is pierced, and when I was doing this, I didn't have a pierced piece, but you have a piece that has a pierced background that you're going to lay on there. And you can see that this goes side to side. Your pieces, I think mine is cut the right length. It is cut, I did it for this, but you will cut that the length that it needs to be. And I did not tell you, but you'll cut it. You have 2 of them, 2 strips that you would cut. This particular one is going to be 3.25. That's what I thought. This base should be 3.25. And if you wanted to go any further, you can. And again, if you don't like any of these sentiments that I've got, then you can choose your own. This is a penny black sentiments out of a Bloom set. So then you have that, and you have plenty of room to cut it down. Okay. I'm looking at the flowers. They don't look. I'm trying to determine whether or not the one that I have on the sample is the OLO, only because I know my colors. I believe, I'm looking at these, and I don't know my OLOs as quite as well as how they work, but what we're gonna do is, I think we'll do this with OLO again. I think this is BG 70, 72, and there's a little bit of 90 in there. It's a little greener, I believe. So we'll do these with OLOs. And there's my image. Let me go ahead and pop my Copics back away. That way I'll be able to find them the next time. Yeah, I need to decide whether I'm going to come up with some system for my OLOs in numerical order or not. Right now they're divided enough that it pretty much works. So on here, my OLOs, I need a BG 7.0 and BG 7.0, BG 7.2, a 0 2.3, which will be an orange color, which is an O 2.3 and 2.4. Okay, here's 2.4, and my other O must be, I'll have to look for it here, O 2.2. I've got 2.2, but I don't have 2.3. I may have made a mistake on that one. For you, if it is, I'll correct it on yours. I think it's this one. Actually, I believe I might have typed that incorrectly. So 2.2, because I don't believe they have a, unless it's OR 2.2. We'll figure that one out. Then RV 0.2 and 0.4. Okay. Let's go ahead and attach this to here. I'm going to just kind of move this stuff over to the side. Okay. And if I need to make a correction on this, I'm going to go ahead and circle that so I make the correction on your copies before they go out. And I am going to zoom this in for you. And again, this is kind of a glass, okay? So it's a piece of like a glass. So I chose a BG 7.0 and a BG 7.2. So I'm going to take the BG 7.2. Let's start with the darkest one. And let's just, let's just, I still have this funky hair that's hanging on there. And this is going to be darker up here, and it's actually because this jar goes in around there. This neck is going to be darker, so you can go a little farther with your dark color there. And then as you come down, you can decrease it a little bit. And there is another way that you can do it, which, you know, you can't, I see a lot of people come down with a line, and we could do that where the line on the jar, the artist has given you those lines, okay? And another thing to remember is that if you don't have lots of depth of color, you can lay the color down, let it dry, and then lay more color down. And probably what's going to happen is it's going to darken, okay? So you can get a little bit more color that way. So again, I've laid my marker down. I'm kind of down at that strong 45. And I'm just going through here and pulling this in. Okay, now I also have this on that pink paper, which is kind of coming through. But you can see that looks like a jar in the center. Okay, if I want it to be a little bit darker, there is, I believe, let me think here. Yeah, there is one more marker, and this is my sample, so it's not going to be a problem. This is BG73. So here is the 7.2. Here's the 7.3, okay? I could go in with the 7.3, a little bit darker color. You probably could even do it with a gray. And I could come in and just lay this marker in on those lines that the artist has given you to give it a little bit more color. I could also just kind of go in here from the back to get that roundness and get it up here and possibly pull in a little bit more color there. And then I'm going to come back in and just kind of soften this or bring some more color. Okay. So what I did was I went in and I just outlined that little area there, which emphasizes the edge of the jar. Okay, so I wanted to make them as easy as I could for you, but again, think about the fact that there's going to be water in the jar, and you could take the entire thing and glossy accent the entire jar if you wanted to, okay? Which would be fun. So we'll put our BG markers back. I'm going to recap them and stick them back. So you could even take a gray marker if you have a gray. I would use probably a cool gray if I had it, or a neutral marker. So the jar is done. And now what we're going to do is the flowers, okay? So I'm going to test my colors. That's the 2.2, and this is the 2.4. And I believe those are the two colors because I don't think there's another color that I missed over here. Unless I did use Y. I'm looking here to see. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 2.2, which is kind of an orangey yellow. You could use a yellow, and I will correct the sheets before I give them to you. And and all I did was come back in here. This is with the 2.4, and I just added a little bit, and I didn't even work on blending it out. Just emphasize those flowers. Simple colors, you guys. They could be one color. They don't have to be anything else, okay? So I'm going to change that to a 2.2 for everybody. Okay. Your sheets, so I'll just pencil them in before I do them. Now the next thing I've got is a pink, which is RV 0.2. I did my flower with it. Then I came back in with my 0.4 RV and laid a little color down in the bottom there. I also popped the color on top of there. And actually, I'm almost positive I went back from the first set of flowers on the 2.4 and kind of brought some orange up into that. Just to give a little, I love pink and orange together. I love coloring with pink and orange. And then I'm going to come back in with my RV 0.2 and just kind of pop that off, okay? So it kind of gives you a little bit of color there that blends them all together. So I forget to use these colors a lot. I should make a mental note of that. Okay, I'll make the OR. I'm recapping everything, my RVs. Okay, so that image is done. Once again, you would take and put it on the base if you so choose to do that for ground, and then you just lay it on there, okay? And fasten it all together. You'll cut your sentiment down. So there's that one. You guys see these are very, very quick colors, okay? So we've put together those. I believe that the last one I'm going to do, because I mean, I really don't think, I did lots of different colors. I may go ahead. We've been an hour on this, so I really don't want to go too long. But on this particular one, I'll talk a little bit about a couple of them. This one here, this is your card number 2. And let's go back out. Okay, this is card, be a little bit, I'm making my thing a little bit crooked by doing all that. So what I did on this one is I love to mix blues and kind of greens. And again, I don't know the name of this plant, but I think it has lots of different variations of color. So that's what I did on this one by mixing my yellow greens and then a strong G color, like into a G46 on there. And those are about the same. I mean, I think it was very difficult to, well, I'm pulling my other, because my other finished image is in here. These two images were very, very difficult for me to determine. I can tell you this is my OLO image only because this is my Copic image. I know the blue. The blue-green was a little bit there, and this was a strong blue. So this is my Copic image because I know that one is a B95 and B97 on the pot. And my OLO image was the B4.3. And I think I added the BG, which is a blue-green 07, to give me some colors. So I know that this is my Copic, I mean, my OLO image here. This is my Copic image. Very little difference in the leaves, you can see. Okay? So I like adding lots of blues and greens in them. So I chose yellow-green colors, and then I chose a green color to add to those. Like a G46. So I used 67. So these are the colors that I used on Copic. So I colored the bases, and then I colored the top part, and I was adding, when I kind of went back in, it took a little bit of working with them. I probably even did it this way. And then I might have gone back with my G67. So I probably did the YG67, G46, then I went with my YG95 and added it to the top. And I probably did from the bottom and then top down, and then I smoothed them all out with the G67. So that's what I did with the Copic one, okay? So let's go ahead and let's pull, I'm not going to do this one. And then the OLOs, I did the same process, okay? So I just wanted to show you that one, that I did lots of different colors. Do not be afraid to mix colors that you don't think would necessarily work. I test them on my scraps. I mean, it's just a piece of paper, okay? This one's a simple color. I chose lavenders. If you don't have any types of BVs or Vs, you could make the pot any color. And I do like a lavender and red combination with some black, so that's why I chose that. Tiny little flowers. I think there's only just a couple of markers on that one. This one here, I chose to do really more greens, really green flowers. So they're G28, G19, G03. So I used really green, and then on the Copics, I mean on the OLOs, I used about the same greens. Because where the pot, I can tell the difference in the pot on these a little bit. So that was, you know, with greens, not as much yellow green. Trying to give you a variation of colors, okay? This is very similar to the one we already did on card number 6. I just chose to use blue greens instead of blues. But if you only have B's or G's, I love those for glass, and I always use the quad 0, which is the lightest one, and the triple 0 just to get this effect. And then I use the yellow greens on my leaves and just a touch of the 21 and 11 of the R's on that one. It's kind of the same thing on my OLO. This one you couldn't tell the difference of, okay? So very easy colors. So let's go ahead, and this is the last one. And let me find that image. There's this image. I've got my other images I'll stick over here. Okay. And this is card number 8. So in card number 8, you have your card base, once again, top fold score at 5.5. You have the gray wood look piece that'll go on there, okay? You have a dark gray panel, and then you have this piece here, which is going on the bottom, okay? So what we're gonna do is, and I'll go through this with you, this is how I did this. I actually, and this particular one, again, it's got a pretty good emboss. This is, I think, the burlap, if I recall, from Taylor. And I'm going to add actually just a little bit, if I can get my adhesive to move. I need to work on these. I haven't used this one for a long time at my desk, so. And I very seldom ever use the Nuvo one when it's sitting here. Okay. I think I have the wrong pin in there too because it looks a little rusty. Okay, I'm just laying a little bit of adhesive there just because I wanted to stick this texture. So I am matching it up as your instructions say. They're right down here that says match it up on the lower right corner. So you'll adhere the triangle piece to the dark gray aligning in the lower right corner. So I'm aligning it, I'm gonna lay it down, and it's in the lower right corner. And I'm gonna adhere that, okay? You notice that it's sticking out. What I did was I cut the piece and then I just angled it for you. And I'm gonna take this, I'm turning it over, and I'm clipping it. You do it however you like to. I see people use paper trimmers, and they trim them off, but I didn't want you to have to fuss with it to make it actually correct. I didn't want to cut this for you. I wanted you to be able to jimmy that around. Okay, so then what's gonna happen is this piece is going to lay right next to it, okay? And then you'll just trim it off. This is just a piece of silver 1/4 inch trim. So that's how I did that. Very simple, okay? So, and then you will, again, I pop it up, you'll lay it on top of there, okay? I do want to show you that was the only kind of thing that was a little bit odd. And I chose a thank you. And again, these sentiments are super, you can do whatever you want with those. Okay. Looking at these, I believe, I listed these. Oh, you know what I didn't do for you guys? I did not. I may have to print this last page again for you guys. I did not give you the OLO numbers on here. That was pretty smart of me. I didn't type them in for some reason. I will grab, I thought I laid them here. I don't know why I didn't type them in there. So, I will type them in and I'll change that page out for you. This is good that I'm doing this so I can see that. I believe this particular one was real difficult for me to tell the two apart. I'm looking at them here. And I really cannot decide whether or not, I don't know which one is which, okay? That's how close I was able to get them. So what we're gonna do is I will do Copics on this one. We've done 2 Olos, and I'll add the Copics to your last page, and I will fix that, okay? So let's take this, and I'm gonna put this here, and I'm going to do this. Let's pull these, because I laid these down to kind of help you see the order, and I thought they would make more sense if you see how I layer different things. This is YR24, YG95, YR21, YG95 and 93, YG91. Okay. So what I did on this was I listed these in the order I used them from the bottom up, okay? So I took my YR24 and I did that at the base of the cactus, okay? I was trying to get, and this one is a little larger, plus it's dark, it's in the back, so it could be a little bit darker, okay? There's that. Then I went to the YG95, okay? And I came in here and I kind of added some green. I want these colors to kind of just, I think the cactus, to me, cactus can be lots of different colors. They could even be a really light color. I mean, probably into some gray tones, okay? So then there's that one. Then we had the YR21. And what I did with the YR21, if you see these images, they're a little bit lighter at the top. So I came in from the top down. Just to give it a little bit of color there, okay? Then I have the YG93, and I came up from the bottom. I like to add that little bit of color at the top just to give me some, I guess, some variance of color and things that how I can work and play. I like to get all those different colors. And I finish it off with the YG91. And I kind of softened that color that I put at the top. And I'm just kind of flicking motions down in here like that. And they are, I can go back with my 93, my YG93 from the bottom if I think they're just getting maybe too yellowish, or I want to de-orangify, I should say, this bottom part. But they're pretty dark now, but they're going to lighten up. So again, that's how I did. I wanted to get that variation of color in my cactus, and so you have to kind of think the process and learn to know your markers. And that's how I do it. This is probably one of my favorite. I'm a YG 91, 93, 95 person all the way around. But I also like to use my markers to in colors that I know, like we did some blue greens this time and some very green greens, okay? But knowing that I could add these colors together. And again, this is why I take, like, you could use just typing paper, anything, but this is why I have a piece of scrap paper that I kind of play with markers, and I add different colors to see how they look and what they're like, okay? So that really does help me play with the colors and understand, and how, I've done this for quite a while, and I'm not as good with my Olos yet, okay? I try to sit down at least, I guess once a week to actually use them to color an image just to learn them a little bit better, okay? Now the pot is an E70. Now these are unusual colors, but what's interesting is when they brought out the OLOs, these RGs that they have, I'm almost positive that was what the colors were. No, I actually use I use the YGs on the OLOs. So they're a little bit pinker, I think, but these colors here, these are unusual colors, but they get us a very pinky gray, the E70, E71, and E74. Then I decided to add in the R11, R21, R21, R11, and R22. Okay, so let's do the pot. So I'm going to start this, and I'm going to do some dark, okay? I'm going to do dark to light at this time. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to color this down here. This is the E. I have a habit of holding my markers in the hand. I should not do that so you can see them, okay? And I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to bring this up. And again, I probably have my marker at only tilted about 30 degrees this time, okay? Light it off to the side. Then I'm going to use my E71. And I'm gonna come down from the top because again, I'm trying to see if I can come up with some depth, but I'm gonna use my 71, which is my middle color in the little V up there, okay? And I'm actually going to color the dots just in an E71, okay? Now I'm taking my E70 marker and I'm going to color between the two. And I'm trying to decide if I can get some depth of colors here. And I am somewhat erasing, because I'm erasing those colors. It doesn't look quite that splotchy in person. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, once again, I'm gonna pull my little block here and I'm gonna lay, this is this E71 down. You can try each one, but I'm gonna pick it up and I'm actually just gonna try to mesh those two together. And I may have to add some of the darker one in there just to pull it up. But it's working pretty well, and it looks much better in person than it does right there, okay? It looks like it's in pretty good shape, and it's gonna dry out. So that's the pot. But I do a lot of, instead of by tip to tip laying it on and pulling the darker color off with your lighter color, and it'll help you give you another color, but I just do better with a palette, okay? So now the next thing we're gonna do is the pot. And I'm just going to take I'm gonna start with my R22, and I'm just gonna color the little tops of these little flowering cactus. That's what I use to color the tops of the flowering cactus, okay? And I'm going to take this, I'm gonna put it in the, oh, actually I did the inside of the pot the other color. I can fix that. I thought about that and didn't do it. Okay, so it's a dark, and we'll just come around. Okay, and we'll just finish that pot out. There you go. So simple. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to start from the top down. This is my R22. And I'm just kind of trying to work my way around those little circles there. And I'm just kind of, I am barely touching the paper, you guys. I'm just kind of, it's control. A lot of it has to do with control. Okay. The next color will be my 21, which is a little bit lighter color. And it's just, again, I'm just kind of scrubbing it up. This is kind of a real pinky salmon. They actually call them light prawn and sand docks. Okay, and then this is R11. And I'm just coming down into the pot with that, okay? I would like to give myself a teeny bit more color. So I have laid the R22 on his palette, and I'm just gonna pick it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna come down. And I, again, am just kind of barely touching the paper to give it a little more definition right there. Okay. And I'm gonna mark this off, and now I'm gonna come back up and just give it another layer. Okay. And it's gonna dry out. I actually want to lay a little bit more now that this is dried on the lip of the pot, because it was getting... Okay, so I'm going to recap my Copics right quick. So there's the pot. So I actually have, take it off the pink. Here's the sample card that I gave to Stacy. I put a little bit of, I put glossy accents on those dots. This is the one I just colored. And then there's this one. I believe this is the Copic image, and this is the OLO. Now that I see the colors on the pot done, okay? So you can see they look very similar. They're not identical. Could I work a little bit more on this? Probably so, but I'm happy with it. It's fine. They're small images. Again, this particular one, again, you put I'll color that oval for you so you can see that right quick too. But they're very fun. I think that succulents and things like this are kind of universal for what you can use them, you know, how you can use them. So here is your piece of vellum, okay? So I can kind of, there's an edge a little bit, and I can tell, you know, vellum doesn't cut, this heavy vellum doesn't cut as smoothly sometimes, but you can feel the edge. So I'm turning it over on the back side. And you can color on the back side of anything like this, but I color on it because then you might get some striations if you're doing this, okay? You can use a W, you could use the RGs. I am going to, I don't know that I want to go this dark. No, I think it was a WG5 and a W5. W5 on Copic, WG5, okay. There's my WG of OLO. Here's my WG5 on Copic, okay? And they're drying out. You can see they're drying. I think I'll go down to a 4. But it doesn't make, I think I did them with my OLOs before. So you can see that it is pinker. It may not show up as much, but it's definitely a little bit pinker than the other one. But I'm going to use the OLO. I'm going to take it, and what I'm doing is I am just coloring this. You could put it on a piece of paper so you can color it. And I'm making big, just kind of lines on here. Trying to get some of those lines out. I put some fingerprints on it because it's not totally dry. And if you don't like this, you could go in with your colorless blender and probably take it out. Let me just check it and see. Yeah, I can take it off. If you think you've got it too dark, you can go with your colorless blender and take it back off again. Okay. Now we're going to try to take, and you can see that every time I go over this, it's getting a little bit darker. So you normally wouldn't do that, but you can see that I've got lines in there. Okay. So if you have anything in like a 3, 4, 5-ish color line, now as you can see there's what it looks like here. And again, I've gone over that, and that's what happens when you keep going over vellum. A lot of times you'll get those streaks in that. So I went over this a whole bunch. I would never do that normally, but you can see what it did. Okay, but if I turn it over, let me see if I've got something white. There's what it looks like on white. There's what it looks like white here. So it's not nearly as bad. And you guys understand, I really scrubbed that, and you wouldn't be scrubbing it that much. Then I took it and I just, I eyeballed cutting it in half. Okay. So there it's cut in half, and then that's what you put on the bottom of your image. Let me get my image back out. So that's how I did those. You could use, the other thing you could use on this, and it kind of goes like that so you can see the ground, is if you have your YG90 193, any warm grays, a light brown, you're just trying to give a neutral tone to ground that image. I felt that it was just floating on air, and I just did not like the way it looked without a little bit of ground. So that's why I stuck it on there. So I hope this wasn't too confusing. If it was, by using the 2 sets of markers, you please let me know. Ask me anything. Again, you have my, my email. You have my phone number. You can text me. A lot of times I'm at the store. And I hope this was a little bit helpful for you. If you like more things like this, again, please let us know. You can email me. The only way we know to give you what you like or to help you is for you to communicate with us. And so that's it. I will pull this back out. Okay, straighten it up a little bit for you. Move everything out. And once again, let me show you all the cards that we have. With this kit. Just kind of lay them out. So there they all are. I really think that they're a fun set. Again, you probably, this one you will have to trim down a little bit. This one has a die cut for it. So these two you'll have to trim them. Otherwise everything else is done. And you have a little bit of trimming on this and maybe a little trimming on that. But you can interchange your sentiments if you'd like. You could put a different sentiment on there. You can do what you want with these. So I hope this was enjoyable. And again, don't forget to let us know if you need help. So as I said, have a colorful day. Bye.